We're going to do the sit-down video with Gelico right now. And Gelico, I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Not a problem, man.
Dude, you've been doing a lot of videos with me as of late, and it's been awesome having you as a part of After Prison Show. The fan base is really starting to get attached to you, and I know that's got to be a really cool thing for you.
Yeah, man, it feels kind of good, man, especially after the first couple videos I did, man. You wouldn't even tell me where the comment section was, but yeah.
I didn't do it on purpose.
You know, I don't know where the comment section is.
The comment section? What comment section? There's no comments on YouTube.
But yeah, no, it's kind of nice, man. I talk to people on a regular basis, man, on the fan page, Facebook fan page, and the comment section. You know, I'm always on there if I'm in the video or, you know, it's an interesting video. So yeah, a lot of love, APS Army.
Well, I appreciate everything that you bring to it. I appreciate the energy that you bring, the work that you do behind the scenes. You've been doing so much work behind the scenes, and it really means a lot to have you as a part of this thing, to have you as a part of the team. But today I want to talk with you about something really interesting, and it's a story and an experience that you got from prison. And it was about a time when you dealt with some prison extortion, where somebody was actually trying to extort you.
Yes, yes I did.
And the crazy thing about this story is I was at the prison with Gelico when this situation would take place. I know the individual who attempted to do this to you. And the first thing that I got to say is I would have never even imagined that this person would try something like this, especially with the size of this individual.
Yeah.
So what I want to do is, you know, Gelico, just give us a little bit of the backstory about, you know, the time, the place, and what would end up taking place.
Well, in between 2012 and 2014, I did my time at Indian Creek Correctional. During that time when I hit the compound, I filled everything out, and I had some people sending money, but I didn't have money. So ultimately, there wasn't any cards there wasn't any poker at Therapeutic Community.
That's right, we had to make the cards, you remember that?
Yes, I do. Or we had to get them in through property, through the guy who knew a guy and all that. But yeah, there was no poker. I wasn't any good at the parlay. So there was a hustle man on the yard who was always charging so much. So I found a way in, and my hustle generally through my entire bid there was porn and brittle.
Porn and brittle. Boy, Gelico, this is how me and Gelico got to know one another, was through the prison porn. Crazy,
yeah.
Crazy enough.
And I worked in the kitchen, I worked staff dining, and I worked in the bakery. So, you know, that was always a hustle there, between the cinnamon rolls to the chicken legs or whatever that was in staff dining. So I was, you know, I was moving and shaking. I was making a little bit of money.
You know, somewhere throughout this time, like I had just mentioned, me and you would get to know one another. We would become pretty cool in prison. I thought you were a really solid dude. I don't know really what you thought of me while I was in prison. What do you remember of me in prison?
You were always busy, man. You were about your comic. You were about
the drawing, the artwork.
The drawing, your artwork, you're about the blog. And then when you had the little dating hustle thing, man, I'll never forget that. I mean, it was a good place. I mean, a safe place that wasn't too loud, it wasn't too rowdy. It wasn't a bad place to do time.
And that's another surprising thing to me when it comes to this particular story that you're getting ready to share with us is what you just mentioned right there. This prison, it did have its fights, it did have its gangs and that type of stuff. But this was something like, I didn't know of anybody who was getting extorted. I'm sure that there were people who were there who were getting extorted. But, you know, walk us through what would end up happening. And before doing so, you know, tell us about this individual, Pac-Man.
There's this young boy named Pac-Man. He was affiliated with a certain sect of individuals, I just won't name. And in certain compounds and certain facilities across the state, there's more groups than others. And in our facility, there was a big group of a certain people. And he was trying to make his way up. You know, he was rapping, he was doing this, he was a coordinator. It was kind of funny. And so I guess this was just his way to try and make a move, to, you know, to do something, to, you know, to get his stripes or whatever it is. It was a softball game. We were all chilling, and we were all going in. And he came up to me and he said, "Hey, Gelico, I need to talk to you, man. You making an awful lot of money on this yard." He was with a dude named T-Boo. It was pretty cool. I was pretty cool with everybody there.
You remembered his name?
No, yeah, the stick man. He was.
We remember we were talking about that not too long ago. We were trying to remember his name.
He was T-Boo. T-Boo was kind of cool, but the youngin came up. He was like, "Yo, man, you making too much money, man. I need you to get me deodorant and toothpaste every week till you leave, as long as you're hustling on his yard." are we gonna get your bag? And I said, what? I laughed. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a little dude. But you know what I'm saying? When you deal with people that are affiliated, it don't matter.
T-Boo was a bigger dude.
Yeah, but T-Boo really wasn't about it.
No,
But he had to have his back. You know what I'm saying? He was a homie, so he had to have his back. So I blew it off or whatever. And then somebody, he walked into my pod and said something. No, he said that statement. He walked behind me in my pod, and he said that in the pod. And dudes, there was a dude named Rude Boy, and another one of his affiliates. They were like, what the hell is this? You from Tidewater, man. What is this all about? You know what I'm saying? We all from Tidewater here. What is he trying to do? I said, man, I don't know. He got the wrong one, bro. But anyway, I talked to one of his big homies, well, a big homie in the pod, about it. He said, man, I ain't got nothing to do. Gelico, you cool with me, bro. I guess, you know, you just going to have to figure it out. So I was kind of hot, you know what I'm saying? I knew who the shot caller was on the yard. You know what I'm saying? Everybody knows.
He was in the dorm right next to ours.
Yeah, well, anyway, he was in bakery with me. You know what I'm saying? So
And he was a huge dude.
I go for breakfast early in the morning because bakery we make the biscuits about 2 o'clock. So we leave between 2 or 3. We leave at 2 or 3. I see my dude in the morning. My dude in the bakery, and I was like, yo, man, I need a word with you. He's like, what's up, Gelico? I said, I need a one-on-one with your boy Pac-Man. He said, what? I said, I need a one-on-one, man. He kind of disrespected me in front of a lot of people. And he was like, whoa, time out. He asked what happened. I told him, I was like, yo, dude came up to me. And he thought for a second. He said, yo, come back to me in an hour. I remember we were making biscuits and something was going through my head. I was like, man, what did I do? Because he seemed a little bit upset. Not just at me, but he was like, yo, hang on a second. Some time had passed, and I walked up to him, and I was like, so what's up? Am I going to get this one-on-one or what? He said, Gelico, man, you're cool. I don't know a dude like that, but we a click. He says, one go, we all go. So don't ever think you can get away with that. I said, what? I said, but he said, man, that's squashed. That whole incident is squashed. You good people. We do this and here. We do that and here. You a hustle man on the yard. You's a man who can get things here to there, what people need. This youngin', he's just trying to make a point. I said, but, he said, man, I'm telling you, you go, we all gonna go. Ain't no disrespect to you. It's just respect for what we have and what we were about, you know. I was worried there for a second. So if one go, we all go. What if he comes after me? You know, because I went to his big homie. But I did stop because I'm independent. I'm a mixed race. I'm not white, black, Mexican. There's not many
Gelicos.
There's not too many Gelicos, Filipino Americans in the system, unless you go West Coast, you know what I'm saying. But I was independent. I hustled by myself, you know what I'm saying. There was nothing for me to worry about because everybody I dealt with was pretty cool. I dealt with, you know, the G's, Bloods, the Crips. I played volleyball with the Aryans, so that's why a lot of people like, how are you cool with white, black? And it's just the way I am. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way I was raised. I was cool with so many people. But anyway, he just told me, he said, Gelico, you're cool. Just let it be, and it'll go away, and you can go back to what you were doing. And I was like, all right. But he reminded me again. He said, I'm telling you, don't do it. I like you. I like you. You're a good man. I was in the bakery. You know what I'm saying? We had our hustle down there with the cinnamon rolls and pizza dough. It wasn't pizza dough, but it was the dough we used for the bread, but we used it for pizza dough. You know, it was $2 pizza dough. Cinnamon rolls are $1 a piece. You know, we had a hustle going. I had to become very aware of my surroundings. Though people were cool with me everywhere, there's still codes and ethics they go by. You know what I'm saying? And later on in that bid, I learned many different religions and many different sects or groups or affiliations, see what they were about and what they're for and what they're against. Learned a lot about Rastafarian, Hinduism, Asta True. You know, I was born and raised Catholic, went to the church, so you know, people can't really discuss their laws and their bylaws, but they'll tell you what they believe in. People high ups in the ranks of G's or Bloods or Crips, they're pretty respectful in the yard, you know, and people who've done time. So that's generally who I mesh with. So, I mean, I'm generally cool with everybody. So that's how I became hustle man of generally everything. You know what I'm saying? Like with the porn with you, when I was in staff dining, there was individuals amongst the yard. We got to keep the flow going,
It's the economy in the
prison. It's the economy in the prison, and you have to be mindful of who's doing what, hustling too much or hustling too little. I always say this example all the time in everything I do. In the kitchen there was a guy who used to bring 5 eggs back in a glove every day. A couple dudes got their eggs on Monday, some got them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. This guy used to bring them back every day. Well, he moved up. A youngin' came in. We told him about the hustle. He said, you got money every day, you get $2 every day. You sell eggs, this guy, this guy, this guy, and this guy. Well, the youngin' gets greedy and takes a whole rack of eggs, takes over 200 eggs. Well, then they lock it. So no one can eat anymore. So all them people in the pod don't get the eggs, he don't get the money, and the hustle's dead. So you got to keep the hustle going for the next man, So you just have to be true to the game or whatever it is. You just have to be smart.
And not greedy.
Yeah.
I want to get back to the Pac-Man situation as we get close to wrapping this up. I don't want to make this super long. But, what ultimately happened with Pac-Man? Like, would there be any kind of conversation between the two of you afterwards?
Never, man. And we ended up even being in a pod and 6 building together. And never had a word. By the end of it, he'd say, what's up?
Never another breath uttered about that situation?
Nah, not that situation. Certain people can brush stuff under the table, certain things just disrespectful. You know what I'm saying? You don't forget it.
Like, I don't remember that situation happening. I remember that guy. I'm sure it was a situation that wasn't really put out there all too much, or maybe I forgot about it. I can't really honestly remember anything from it. But I do remember him. I do remember the higher up, and I do remember a lot of the people that you were mentioning in relation to that story. And, for the most part, most of those guys were okay dudes. Like, I never had any issues with them. I know that the higher, the shot caller, like you were mentioning, I can remember many of fights that he had on the yard where, he was a big dude. He was big, he was intimidating, and he had to carry himself in that type of a way to be able to maintain that reputation of who he was, even on a level 2 prison. But, what do you take away from that situation, if anything? Like, was it a learning experience? Like, what would you recommend to anybody else who possibly goes through something like that? Like, what to do?
See, my first reaction was about to fire off, because that's what you do, But there was a few people around him, and I knew they were friends. I didn't really totally understand. I wasn't born and raised around gangs in general. I didn't learn about gangs and their beliefs and such till I went to prison. But it's real. Their beliefs and how they roll is very real. One goes, they all go. I mean, so for a second there, when I seen them with their buddies, I was just like, let me just blow this off. I don't know what's up, and I had to stand back for a second to observe. Sometimes some fights are best to walk away from. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, it's just a smart thing for me to do it when I was viewing my surroundings. I'm all alone on a yard, anywhere I go. I mean, I got people I kick with, but generally I'm by myself.
I want to wrap this up, and while doing so, Gelico, I want to give you an opportunity to just speak to the viewers, anything that you want to share with them as we close this.
Man, I talk to y'all every day from Facebook or in the comments section. I appreciate the love and support, not only for what Joe and I do, but inevitably sometimes I do take credit for when credit isn't due. Joe, I would like to give you all the credit right now, man. I don't thank you enough. I always say, me and APS, it's Joe, really. Without you, this whole thing wouldn't exist, and you have started something awesome. You really have, and I'm glad to be a part of it, brother.
I'm glad to have you as a part of it too, man.
Not a problem. But just APS Army, peace.